Please, please let this be the Legend of the Galactic Heroes beach episode. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, this is Lessons, and I am way above frame. But, fuck it. Today's not the day to fix things. Today's the day to suffer through. We are back with the final part of Gaiden, which we will not be finishing today, but we will mostly be getting through today. I believe we're in the Dishonor arc. So, yeah. We come back from having just done My Conquest as the Sea of Stars. One of us has notes about that. Otherwise, we have notes. Well, sorry. My brain is in auto mode. We have a board. I have notes. We have a comment. So I guess let's go ahead and hit the board first. Where, as always, there is a board changelog. I added Flegel, connected him with a green line to Muckenberger. I added Mecklinger, connected him with a green line to Reinhard and Siegfried. I added Oberstein, connected him with a green line to Muckenberger. I connected Oscar and Wolfgang with a green line, then connected them to Reinhardt with a green line. I added Tonio and Kurt, connecting them together with a green line. I added Peta, and connected him to Yang and Lobos with a green line. I added a red arrow from Muckenberger to Reinhardt. I added Gotts, Lewis, and Wynn, connected Lewis and Wynn together with a green line, connected them to Siegfried with a green line, connected them to Gotts with a red line. Added Nilsson, connected him to Dusty and Yang with a green line. Connected Poplin to Yang with a green line. And lastly, I added Carl, connected him to Reinhardt with a green line.
All things to check out. I am looking for the face of the man that appeared at the very end of the movie, congratulating on the Alliance side for a battle well fought. He was supposed to be a civilian. I think he was either Secretary of Defense or the President.
His first name has 3 letters. You met him before in Spiral? The very first.
Tunit?
Yeah.
He's not connected to anyone, I suppose.
Why would he be? You understand that he was on the TV giving a speech to the entire Alliance, right? He wasn't like shaking hands with Yang. He was. And likewise, when we saw him the first time, again, in whatever the first arc was called, the one where Yang is doing the research on the Tuesday letter, he is just at the funeral. No one talks to him. He's like paying his respects for the guy that died.
Yeah.
So he has no physical contact with anybody. I also appreciate that you were searching the board for a civilian on the Alliance side. Literally an area where there's a civilian category.
Yeah, because he had no connections. I didn't remember his name, so that's what. And you
right, but you knew he was a civilian because you said, "I'm looking for a civilian."
Yeah, I looked and I didn't find them. That's why I was asking.
An area that only has 8 people in it.
Still, if I don't recognize them, I can't find them, can I?
I'm sure you could. You did.
I guessed.
Your argument here is that I couldn't find him possibly with all this information that I'm lacking, and my point to you is, you did, though.
I guessed. A process of elimination.
I don't care what process you used, you did it.
I should have noticed this before. It's so blatantly obvious that it's staring me at the face. I mean, I know that the Empire is very heavily German coded, while the Alliance is more, shall we say, all over the place, right? You have different types of names and people. We do know that they practice genetic, racism, I guess. Not racism, but, genetic. Does that also mean that the Empire is blatantly racist and all these people, especially the other people who have fled the Empire because they don't have a place in it? We know that the Empire looks for genetic abnormalities, but that shouldn't
One would
necessarily.
assume only in the nobility.
Well, we also all the way down to civilians. It seems to be a pattern here.
You're saying that, but we have no evidence that they've like genetically test civilians. That seems like a waste of money and time for people that you blatantly don't care about.
Well, if you want purity, you want to make sure that all your people are pure.
Yeah, but your nobility isn't hooking up with the peasants.
Unless they buy a knighthood or something like that, in which case maybe they
I
can't.
think that's also a matter of not caring. I don't think like the higher nobility even considers the imperial knights to be nobility. They're so bottom of the rung.
Yeah, but I'm talking about that there's more diversity on the Free Planets Alliance side.
I think that's by design. And I don't mean by design in world. I think it's by design as the visual metaphor to let you know what's going on here.
Yeah. But if the Empire took over the former government and the Alliance were rebels that fled the Empire, the implications are...
Look, I'm saying is, in your scenario, well, here's the thing. I was going to say Sithole would not be out of a job in the Empire because he's black. But then again, that doesn't work because Sithole is a high-ranking member of the Alliance military. He'd be out of a job because he'd be executed, more than likely.
In fact, there's even a mention in one of the episodes we watch. Oh yeah, this individual shares your background, right? Your what was it called? The translation was Oriental background. Something that we never... Very interesting to point out.
I don't remember that at all.
In fact, the banner that he had in the background was also very interesting. Like his personal banner was very interesting. I don't know. I mean, it seems implied, but no direct proof other than,
I mean, we all get that it's German coded, but I think it's not like the way that we say that Xeon in Gundam is German coded. If you said that about Xeon, I'd be like, yeah, maybe, probably. Because...
But we see more variety in Xeon. We see more people of different backgrounds, right? The government is Xeon coded. The culture might be German coded, but it is more diverse racially.
Right, but I mean, that's like Space Noid versus Earth Noid. And we don't want Earth Noids among us. But I'm just saying that if you said that about Xeon and Gundam, I'd be like, oh yeah, sure, probably, because Gurren is that way. Here... I don't know. If you had been watching Peacekeeper, I could bring up some real timely references right now. Do you care about Peacekeeper spoilers?
Well, I know they go into another racist Earth. And
okay, well, we had this conversation before, and you didn't know that back then. So, yeah, the element that Peacekeeper spends all this time in his perfect world, and it's just Nazi. It's Nazi world. It's a world where Nazis won the war, and he's like, oh, fuck, I didn't know. He pulls a flag, and it's the swastika where the stars would be, and the stars and stripes. Or turns around, like, there's a mural of Hitler on the wall. Like, why did I not notice that? This is your perfect world. No, I didn't know. So, it could be that. It could be that all across the background, and we just never noticed. Off to the right-hand side of Reinhardt on the bridge is this giant swastika that we never noticed. But if they're not saying it, like, they've coded for a lot of things, thought police and whatnot, but I don't think you can... Just because there's not, like, a black captain, I don't think you can say there are no black captains.
Until we see one. Or the show ends and we never see one, which is, like, that's...
I mean, yeah, that would be proof, I think, if the show ends and we never see one, because there's not going to be any other opportunities after that. I mean, certainly they lack a diversity quota at this point, but I know it seems at this point I'm just trying to make excuses, but I'm just trying to explore the space here. Yeah. I don't know if that they can be blamed for not having any, like, black or Asian people if they don't have any black or Asian people.
That would be a thing if the alliance and the empire had occurred separately.
Well,
But we
no.
know.
Think about it. If the alliance migrates away from the empire, right? Because we know that's how it happened. Back from, again, silver spiral staircase, whatever the fuck that first thing was called.
Yeah.
That they moved away from the empire to the other side of the galaxy. Say an entire planet was that racist Star Trek planet, right? And they all fucking left. And that's why the Alliance has all these people, because the entire population of a world left the Empire.
It would be very weird. It just the one planet was a diverse planet, and all the other planets.
Well, I'm not saying
were
diverse. I'm just saying I'm throwing out an example, like because when the Alliance left, the Empire was the Empire still. So,
and the Empire took over the one human government that existed, a republic or something like that.
yeah,
I don't know
it
how
was
it's
something.
called. Yeah, Galactic Republic or something like that. So,
well, just saying the evidence that they are in the Alliance is proof that they exist in the universe. And since the Alliance emigrated to the other side of the galaxy, means that they were one time in the Empire.
But what would
Galactic
encourage
Federation,
people?
that's what it was called.
Yeah,
that's my
yeah.
first.
What would encourage them to, aside though not being, ruled by the Empire, right? We'll have over 100 episodes to see if we get any more clues out of this. Well, a couple of movies, 4 episodes, and 100 episodes of the real series. So.
My other problem is also recalling that you're right about. Well, you're not right about the civil. I don't know if you're right about civilian. I'm still contending that, but the No, you might be right about the civilian thing too. Information from neue thesis in my head. Stuff that hasn't come up yet, but a character that we have met literally in the movie that we just watched hasn't said anything, but he will be your point of view character on this whole genetics thing. So he's one of the characters I enjoyed a lot during neue thesis, specifically for a reason. So I'm sure that'll come up when we actually start the show, which is going to be 4 episodes, 3 of which we're going to watch today, and then 1 movie, and then we'll start the show proper. I'm saying you might be right about the genetics thing. I don't know if they're going to be so German-coded that not being white is a thing. In which case, if they did, they've really skipped over a wide berth of stuff to not cover in the...
I mean, we do see what could be considered variations of tone, like people are at best described as Mediterranean or olive skinned, Captain's Helmet and Kleist, for example. But that's not a lot of variation compared to what we see. Coastal probably be the closest we can find here. Consider the emphasis that is being given in the alliance, so the rebel alliance of free planets.
I don't know. You've introduced a distressing element to the show. You said you had no notes, but you've brought the worst note of all. What if half the galaxy was apartheid?
Yeah, one of the reasons why people rebel against the Empire and leave the Empire and are willing to fight the Empire for 150 years. Just saying. I mean, seems pretty obvious to me. I should have made that connection earlier, but now that we have like a whole board full of people, and we're gonna have even more people added to the board, so in the format that you put it right there, so left, right, life's like, oh, let's the visual metaphor is.
Well, it's not much of a visual metaphor. I put the Alliance on the right. If I was going for a visual metaphor, I would have put the Empire on the right.
True. But I mean, to say that they are in their own...
Ironically, I think in the neue thesis board back in the day, the Empire was on the right and the Alliance was on the left. Probably the only reason that this happened is because I copied... I didn't copy it. I probably just started making the Empire first And because I'm right-handed, my brain goes to the right after that, and I did the next thing on the right-hand side.
Well, then I think you have notes.
The German text scroll at the beginning of the movie, I started translating it and then stopped. It's basically what the narrator says during about a third of the way through the text scroll. I don't have much to comment on that narration other than it's an observation that mankind is ultimately playing a game of Highlander with itself. That, and it says that those that leave their mark on history are called heroes. The Kaiser certainly left a mark on history, and I'd wager that half the galaxy isn't calling him a hero.
Mm.
And then I say Kaiser, I don't mean this Kaiser, I mean the Kaiser that created the Empire and did away with the Galactic Federation.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it depends on how you define the word hero. If you do it in a modern sense, then yeah, no, it wouldn't be seen as heroic. But if you're seeing more of a grand figure in history slash, great man history, then, whether you like him or not, and I'm sure a lot of people don't like him for clearly obvious reasons.
So I said half the galaxy.
He would be a protagonist or a influential figure. Just that by today's standards, heroic, what we mean by heroic today wouldn't fit him. He's not an anti-hero in a sense either. So either in the modern sense or in the classical sense. So, yeah.
In response to our questions about when things came out, this movie came out on March 25th, 1988. The first episode of the show came out on December 21st, 1988.
I thought it was earlier, but yeah. I thought this was contemporaneous with like Macross, which is 83, 84, but yeah.
Reinhardt's nickname in this movie, Skirt Admiral, really makes no sense. He's commanded forces in numerous battles, both defensive and offensive. If you only watched this movie before going on to the series, you'd think he was known as someone that always held back, where it was safe or something. The fact that it's some new guy saying it, for us, might imply the ignorant among the Empire only regard him for this connection to his sister, and thus the Kaiser. But I'd expect Muckenberger to know better. He's served with him in at least 2 major battles now, both of which he engaged in focal points of the battle. I can only guess that he engages with it because he doesn't like Reinhardt and would rather spread this shameful nickname than acknowledge his skill and intelligence.
I'd say the latter is probably the best, the explanation for it.
Well, it certainly seems like the bureaucracy has enough bloat within it to not care about the expenditure of resources, or the waste of them therein. Muckenberger is sending out a fleet to effectively die, despite the objection being raised that the men are tired and inexperienced, and that there are other fleets that could be scrambled.
I mean, yeah, it's it's also, I think, not merely the bureaucracy, but also the power of the politics, right? The fact that people are willing to obey these orders, tend to do this, and the political environment they're in, right? In any other situation, that would have been oh, you want to send us to our death? Well, there's a bunch of fleets out there who might want to have even more ships on their side. I'm going to defect. Let's go, right? I mean, it's happened before, right? Oh, you want me dead? How about I join the people that will probably help me kill you instead? That's a possibility. Or go to a third party.
Well,
like,
the problem
we don't
is
need
that
to be
the
here.
higher up you get, the less likely you are to pull that operation off. As
True.
per, mutiny and whatnot. Legnica, outer atmosphere, has a wind speed of 2,000 kilometers an hour. That's over the sound barrier. It's also as fast as China's projected Hyperloop train will travel. I mean, we are talking nuclear explosion shockwave speeds. I mean, this is 5 times faster than the fastest tornado ever recorded on Earth. I'm incredulous that these ships weren't being rocked in any way by the winds. More surprising is that any of them survived the explosion. Not for the explosion alone, but when some of those ships shattered as a result of it, becoming hypersonic projectiles for any of the ships behind them. This place should have been the greatest hell that we've ever seen our characters in. But for them, it was an inconvenience that their radar and tracking devices didn't work.
Yeah, that's basically some kind of, well, not even in Star Trek they would do that. In Star Trek, they would go like, "Ah, yeah, we're having problems, but our shields are holding." Blah blah blah. They would give some excuse to cover this. Like, yeah, no, we're just here, I guess. Oops. You know, it reminds me. There's a episode of Babylon 5 where they actually do that, but they don't focus on the wind speed. They focus more on the
Yeah, it's when
depth
they go down to the
pressure.
atmosphere to avoid the shadow ship that's chasing them.
And it's the depth, the pressure of it that they use. But even then, the ship is rocking. I was like, oh, can we withstand this pressure? And when they get shot at, the atmosphere does ignite and, kind of lightning and, has not explosively, but,
Well, when I
has
was
a
looking this
secondary
up,
effect.
apparently having
Yeah.
wind speed that is that high would actually compress the wind, creating a friction in the atmosphere, which would superheat it. So the wind speed alone, right? I wrote it down and I realized I'm never going to be able to fucking pronounce this word. So I just abandoned it. But there is a compression effect of having such a high wind speed that should just ignite the atmosphere. This entire
But
planet just doesn't make sense.
no, I mean, I would have to check the Jupiter and other planets to see if they have similar atmospheres. Uh, so,
Well, the
it
other
might
reason that
not.
I kind of abandoned it was also the thought process that this wind might be constant, in which case, I don't know how it would have started in the first place, but if it's constant, it might just be a flow and thus not a compression effect. Instead
No, I
of,
mean, it's entire gas giant, so it starts basically because of the radiation from the sun that
no, I'm
eh,
saying that as a constant flow, the wind is blowing consistently and constantly
yeah, in
across the
one
entirety of
direction.
the planet, so there wouldn't be a compression effect because it's constant movement. It would be at that point
Yeah.
no different than being a current in the ocean. But my main point here, the one I've decided to focus on, is that this wind speed is essentially constantly being buffeted rather, by a nuclear shock wave. That wind would
Yeah.
tear buildings from the ground. It would scrape the earth to bedrock, and the ships are just flying through it perfectly fine. And it's not like they're just flying above it. No, we had to ascend out of the cloud level, so they're in it.
Uh, in comparison, because I did Google it, Neptune has 1,000 miles per hour winds, exceeds 1,100 miles per hour. Let's see how much that is in kph. 2 kilometers. Be 1,720 kilometers per hour with some change. So close, but not as much as this particular planet. It might be a planet that's closer to its sun. That's why it's even more energetic.
In case
Although
you ever
Neptune
care,
is farther away from the
that's the
sun,
word that I
so
decided I was never going to pronounce right the first time.
adiabatic compression.
Yeah.
And also, it's the old adage: sci-fi writers have no sense of scale, right? They put some numbers out there. Oh, this sounds impressive. It's like, yeah, you think about that for a second. It is, but not for the reasons that you think it is, right?
Well, remember, once they activate the nuke, it goes up to 6,000 kilometers per hour. Usually we see the planning phases for attacks on Iserlon, but this time it's just an Alliance fleet on its way to attack. And I guess we get to experience the aimless feeling of what it must be like to be one of the soldiers in the fleet. All we know is that the fleet is supposed to stealth its way to Iserlon and then attack. Not sure how that was meant to work, as Iserlon has its own fleets and massive firepower. This fleet would have to be small if it's expected to sneak up on the fortress. Just very uncertain as to what their victory condition would be. More than that, though, their commander ignores that standing order at the first opportunity to emerge from hiding to attack the first Imperial fleet that was sent out to the area. Whatever the plan was, I feel like this guy would have lost to attrition, fighting everything on the way.
Yeah. Again, we talked about this before. You brought up that at best these are age of sail tactics in space, which don't really make a lot of sense.
When I was writing that note, my
Again,
first thought went to Kodai from Space Battleship Yamato, because they're rushing in Space Battleship Yamato to get to Iskander to get the anti-radiation device to save the Earth. And the idea is that they keep saying, we've got to stop getting waylaid by everything. We're running out of time. And every time a gameless ship or a gameless fleet or anything gets in the way, Kodai is like, we got to fight it. It's like, Kodai, we're running out of time here. You're going to have to let some of these people go. In a real battle, there are no storms. I think you believe that was a Muckenberger to Reinhardt. Except that snowstorm I defeated a rebel base in during my first deployment. You could also consider that Cephal particle deployment a man-made storm, when I also defeated the rebels. Or that time I used the sun to escape the pursuit of a rebel fleet, also a kind of a storm if you think about it. And then this time, when I used a storm to defeat the rebels again, either luck is a factor, and I'm an expert in it, or storms happen all the time, and I'm the best at using them.
Yeah. Again, I think Muckenberger is just mocking him.
Right, but that's my point, is that there are no storms in a real battle. A lot of storms. I got promoted off of the back of a bunch of the storms. My record is filled with storms. That should be my new nickname. Master of Storms. Or, whatever the Germanic equivalent would be from mythology.
Sturmundran.
Call me Thor.
I mean, they come from a planet of Odin, so, yeah. And they do have a Thor's hammer, so, yeah.
We know before the budget got cut for a number of classes at the academy, but still, it's kind of concerning that Dusty studying war history is just him staring at pictures of fights with a classical soundtrack over it. Not much studying happening there.
Visual metaphor for what he's doing, as opposed to...
I don't think so. I think it's more like the Street Fighter movie, where we just show...
Bison?
No, it's not Bison. It's the guy. This is the kid who gets dropped in the video game. It's the kid who gets lost in the jungle and he eats eels and Blanca? No, it's not Blanca. Is it Blanca?
Blanca?
Which one's Blanca?
Brazilian guy. The monster kind of looks like a monster.
Blanca, yeah. And in the movie Street Fighter, they have him strapped into a thing, injecting him with something, and he's staring at horrific war images.
Clockwork Orange, basically. That's what they're doing it to.
Yeah, well, I don't know why, but I figured Street Fighter is probably the one people would get. Also, Clockwork Orange has so much shit in it that, was it Super Violence? Mega Violence?
Super Violence, I think it was, yeah.
But yeah, that's what Dusty's doing. He just staring at a screen. Because, I don't think this show does shorthand for anything. You're going to see it. Just like every time Yang had to study the history of Bruce Ashby, we saw him reading books about it, and then him thinking about the books that he read, and then interviewing a guy, and then thinking about the stuff the guy said. We did that arc that I can't remember the name of off the top of my head. The news station on Iserlohn was called Reichsinger, or Imperial Gazette. Well, you remember before we started watching the movie, we had this whole discussion about there's no news in the... But to be fair, that wasn't news either. That was like propaganda, I felt like.
Yeah, pretty much. Let us tell us what's happening, and you will thank us for it.
Also, the element that it was a TV on a stand on the middle of the street, which implies that it's there specifically just to blare out the information the government wants you to know, and that we've never seen a TV in anyone's room in any other place in the show.
Yeah, we've seen books, but never... Well, we've seen books and computers, but not dedicated televisions. Unlike what we've seen in the Alliance.
I don't know if we've seen them in anyone's room. The computers we've only seen in like government buildings. Almost a Soviet aspect to that. We're gonna control.
I think Reinhard had a computer in his room, but that's about it. Mostly books. We've seen them in office buildings. We've seen televisions in the Alliance. I mean, Yang has a giant television in his. He fell asleep in front of the television all the time.
Well, yeah, because the Alliance is supposed to be, personal freedoms versus the Empire's
ordered.
Well, autocracy was the first word to come to my head, but it doesn't describe. It's not like personal freedom versus autocracy. It's the the two Venn diagram circles. It's the
Well, they do call it autocracy in
yeah,
from
no,
the
but I'm
Alliance
saying that's
perspective.
not the thing. Autocracy is not the opposite of personal freedom. It's the opposite of a lot of things.
Well, it's the opposite of democracy, I suppose, or a form of democracy, anyway.
Right. I'm saying you could have an autocracy that gives its people personal freedom. An autocracy isn't itself just, it's not impossible to have a good dictator. It's just very unlikely. So,
Technically, it's not an autocracy because
the style of government is itself not the opposite of personal freedom. I was trying to figure out what I was going for there with a rigid society that keeps information at the top.
Totalitarianism, I think it's the...
Well, either way, I think we all understand what I was going for here. My last note. Rewatching the final battle again, I still don't get how flying down the middle of both fleets was a good idea. Lobos says to target the enemy ships, so he's already going to be targeting Reinhardt's ships as well. Muckenberger says not to worry about damaging the left wing fleet, so he'd be firing through them. We can infer that they didn't turn before entering into firing range, as Muckenberger's other wings were announced to be entering into firing range a fleet's distance behind where Reinhardt's fleet was. Payet didn't control the entire battle. Lobos was on site over him, so Payet not shooting shouldn't have stopped the rest of the fleet from shooting. Gang wanted to shoot, so I'd have to believe that there would be a number of other commanders wanting to shoot as well. And yet, nobody shoots. And we get no explanation as to why. Muckenberger should have been firing through them, the Alliance fleet should have been firing into them, but they just passed through with nothing happening. Lobos even asks the same thing in a meeting afterwards. It's crazy plot armor.
Yeah. It works because we say it works.
It works because we have 104 episodes to go with this guy. It would have made more sense if he did what I said, which would have been to swerve to the side and just start attacking into the Alliance, from the side.
The flank, yeah.
Yeah, in which case, then it's when Muckenberger comes in and starts attacking them head on, so they have a difficulty of how do I turn and attack the guys attacking me on the side without then getting shot from Muckenberger's fleet on the front. I'm going to get crossed on the T no matter where I go. That would have been a smart move, but apparently flying down the center was a genius thing to do, and it's like, no, that is... I don't get it. Lobos, the commander of the Alliance side, is like, why didn't anyone fucking shoot? And no one has an answer. We just pan over to Peta, who's like, oh no. There's that guy.
It's like, it's a trap. It has to be a trap. It's like, trap for what?
Yeah, but he says that on the bridge, but he's not in command of the entire operation. Lobos is, and Lobos has already said, we're going to fire on them. So when we get to the meeting at the end, where Lobos is like, why didn't anybody fire? And Peta's is like, oh no. Peta's not in control of everything. That doesn't explain why everyone else in the room didn't fire.
It's a thing. Is that it?
Well, no, we have a comment. Hump Your Rogue from Patreon. My conquest is the Sea of Stars. Tiamat is a star zone located within the corridor. The corridor refers to a series of star zones between Imperial and Free Planets Alliance space, not just the Isolon star zone itself. El Facile is the Alliance end of the corridor, for example. This battle was basically a sortie by the Imperial forces to intercept the Alliance fleet further on in the corridor, rather than fighting around Isolon itself. Also, the music prominently featured in the second half of this episode, and that seemingly won over Theta in the end, is Bolero by Maurice Ravel. It slaps.
Good music. Yeah, I think I said something similar during this. Like, no, it's this thing. No, it's not the same thing. I was like, well, okay.
Yeah, no, I still don't think I'm wrong. That explanation doesn't contradict information I had when I was making that argument. My argument, this is conjecture because I don't actually remember what I said in the moment. I think my conjecture comes from the fact that they're saying it's the, did they say fourth battle of Tiamat, this in the movie? And the Alliance guys are saying we're going to make a rush to Iserlorn to attack it. And it seems to me that, one, we never see any star system that they're in, so it doesn't seem like they're in the Tiamat star zone. And the fact that they're saying, well, let's quick rush to Iserlorn would seem to imply to me that they're around Iserlorn somewhere. So, not the corridor, but the location of the fortress. So if they're close enough to Iserlorn itself that they're sending a decoy fleet that has spooked the Imperial fleet enough to retreat, that they think that they're close enough that this fleet that they're sending is going to attack Iserlorn, would seem to imply to me that they're closer to Iserlorn than anything else. Because otherwise it seems like they're just in the middle of space in the corridor, not near any star zone. So that was my impetus to saying that this should be another battle of Iserlorn if that fleet is close enough to strike Iserlorn, versus being the whatever battle of Tiamat if they're not even in the Tiamat star zone.
I think the planet that they were using originally is in the Tiamat star zone. And this Tiamat star zone is part of the larger Iserlorn corridor.
But that doesn't matter, though.
What do you mean doesn't matter?
Because the major battle at the end of the movie is the fourth battle of Tiamat, but they're not in that area. What you're noting, remember, is when Reinhard gets sent out, his expeditionary fleet gets sent out, they fight, and he comes back. And then later, they have another battle, which isn't anywhere around that planet. So this isn't, both things, the skirmish and the battle, are not considered the same fight.
I think it would be part of the same fight, a much larger battle.
No. Again, he gets sent out, he defeats them there, Alliance retreats, he goes back to Iserlorn, and then there's this note about, okay, we're sending out another fleet the next day, you guys have until this amount of time to, have fun here in Iserlorn, and then they get sent out for the big battle. So technically, that skirmish is done and over with. And
also, I think
why would you,
the fleet...
say I had a fight in your hometown, right? And then we lost, we retreat, you settle down in your hometown again, and then the next day we have a fight on the other side of the island. Are we still going to name the entire battle after your hometown the fight of the initial skirmish when the actual battle happened across the island?
Depends.
It's not good naming convention, I'll tell you that.
No, I mean, it is actually historically accurate. Many battles are misnamed.
Well, no, I think the things that I would think of would be like Civil War battles where the fight starts somewhere and then it's so constant and waging that it migrates across a distance, so it might end in a different spot. But that is a constant battle versus the Van Fleets. No, would that be the one? No, I would say the third battle of Tiamat might be a better example where it's, well, no, because even that's all in the Tiamat star zone. I was trying to use an example of a migrating battle. I guess maybe that would be the Van Fleet one where it's in space, but then it migrates to a planet. Because we had the whole fight there, and then every fleet starts coming in to reinforce every other fleet, so the entire space battle migrates over to there. But that all happens inside the same star zone, so it's not a good example. This one again is just
a more accurate map in order to see. I
told you before I was going to try and do that, but then we were already like 30 something episodes in, and it's like I'm not going to go back and rewatch the first 30 episodes for every map reference.
Yeah.
I have Googled up maps before, and apparently a lot of the maps are inaccurate that other fans have made.
Yeah, the Battle of San Juan Hill is an example. It's like, oh, we call it the Battle of San Juan Hill. That actually didn't happen in San Juan Hill. Happens nearby, but I think either started near San Juan Hill or just was the most prominent place that the people remember, so they call it that, but it didn't actually happen in San Juan.
Well, again, my problem here is, as I was indicating back in the episode itself, is that it seems like we're closer to Iserlorn than anything else, as per the threat the Empires felt by the pseudo 8,000 ships that were rushing to attack Iserlorn from behind them, that they thought they were actually in range to get to Iserlorn. That implies to me that they are close to Iserlorn and not in the Tiamat star zone.
We also don't know how long it takes to go from one place to the other as well. We have hundreds of parts of light years, but
yeah, no, I remember that's a conversation I literally did have in Die New Thesis. The idea of how fast are these ships because it seems like they
Faster than
have.
light travel.
Yeah, it seems like they have the Star Trek thing, right? You have impulse for slower than light, I mean, they take that or slower than light, and then they must have a different engine to get from place to place, because otherwise, if they were moving at the speeds that they move during the battle, these would be generational ships.
Yeah, it wouldn't be every every fall and winter when you have a battle. It will be every 1,000 years or more, or 10,000 years.
It would be like, and then Reinhard the First fought the first battle of Tiamat, and then Reinhard the 17th fought in the second battle of Tiamat.
Clones.
Well, technically, they've got suspension chambers. I guess it could be the same Reinhard. It would just be, third battle of Tiamat fought long after the Empire fell.
That reminds me a lot of
Douglas Adams.
It's not called Lessons of War. It's a series where actually it takes over 1,000 years, and it's
well, it was a joke in Douglas Adams. The idea that fleets would be appearing all the time long after they were sent to do a thing. I know there's also the same idea when it comes to colonization, that you would go into a suspended animation to go colonize a planet and then arrive there, and the planet's already been colonized because faster than light travel has been discovered while you were on sleep, slow rolling your way there.
That happens a lot in Traveler, and it also happens it actually happened in the Honorverse, where the planet Manticore, the first, it almost happens that way. The first ones went very slow, and they get there, and they're like 50 years later, somebody just literally jumps in. It's like, oh, here we are. Like, I thought you guys were going to take hundreds of years. Like, no, just took 50.
I can't remember where I'm thinking about it from, because the closest thing in my head is the world at the end of time. But that's mostly because the characters try to survive an event by putting themselves in suspended animation, and then they wake up like 1,000, 2,000 years into the future, back on the planet that they had left, which was just being colonized, and now it's already like the fall of civilization.
The Forever War is the series I'm talking about. Joe William Haldeman.
Yeah, which I haven't read, which I've heard of, but I never read.
I read the graphic novel. I haven't read the original book. And as for a war, for a peace, as I think it's 2 or 3 books.
Right, I have a passing familiarity with a bunch of sci-fi novels names. I didn't have enough time to read everything.
It was pretty good. I don't think it has aged well in certain aspects, social aspects, but
I mean, it sits into a category of sci-fi novel that I have read the names of and synopsis for, but just can't remember or had never read, like A Mote in God's Eye, another one that I read the description for, thought, oh, that'd be interesting, and then never got around to reading it.
Isn't that the Star Wars?
Nope. It's its own
Splinter
thing.
in the Mind's Eye is Star Wars, yeah.
That is part of the Shiara Harp trilogy?
Yeah, there was supposed to be if Lucas couldn't make the other 2 movies, he wrote a novel. He goes.
No, the one I'm thinking of was like part of the original novels made after the first movie came out.
Yeah, the Splinter in the Mind's Eye, yeah. It's in the other books.
Anyway, I think we've gone off on a tangent a bit here. That was the comment. We've done my notes. We've done the board. So there's not really much left to do but to hop on into it.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this,
unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Well, back to
season 2.
What?
Right? No, this is season 1, right?
Season 2. See?
Yeah, it is season 2.
If it was season 1, it would be the pictures moving across the screen.
Exceptional then. Little Reinhard, with his best bud ever, and his sister.
Well, I mean, pertinently before she gets sold.
Yeah.
So, at least a time
the sea
frame
of
of when the
grass.
opening happens. And it would also have to be before the car accident that kills his mother. I assume anyway.
How old is she compared to him? Like 4 or 5 years older, I think.
Who the hell knows? It's anime.
Yeah.
Plus the element, well, girls mature faster than boys.
Supposedly.
And we know from living in the future that he doesn't actually get that much taller.
Yeah.
So I can't tell if this is growth
Reinhard,
spurt Reinhard or
Kirchheis does get very much taller, but not him. Question is, what is going to be the Dishonor? The Golden Bomb Galactic Empire.
For some reason my volume jumped right back up to 100%, and I was like, God, I can barely hear your lessons. Had to crack it back down to...
Yeah, when you name your war zone Dagon, it's... Oh.
Well, Sigmeister, we remember him. Well, we didn't know he got assassinated. This is all stuff from my calendar. Nobody knows how to hold. The problem with the entire fleets on both sides being glory seekers.
Wow. That is a...
Yeah. Success will be rewarded. Defeat will be punished. I mean, he kind of is responsible. It's his fleet, which means the discipline of his troops is his responsibility.
Yeah.
So he defected.
So he gave no defense of himself? Interesting.
I don't think just... Literally, you're getting talked down to by your commanders who are, remember, not a free society.
True.
I just anticipate that a guy who has no possible future left in the place he's put all his time into... God, what the fuck is that?
A transport ship?
I meant the planet.
Oh.
Planet Skittles there in the background. What if we took Jupiter, dipped it into a hippie's washing machine, and then gave it Saturn's rings?
Eh? ラインハルト様はいらっしゃらないのですか？いや、3日ほど遅れていく。だからお前は最初の予定通り先に出発してくれ。でしたら 私もオーディンに残ってラインハルト様とご一緒します。来年早々の出征計画の準備もありますし。準備は相当以上に進んでいるだろう。しかし今回機械に入る提督たちがラインハルト様を快く思っていないのは確かです。メルカッツ、シュターデン、フォーゲル、ファーレンハイトにエルラッハか。
We know at least half of those.
Fahrenheit.
表立っての反抗はしないでしょうが、面従腹背で臨まれたら作戦は成功しません。彼らは戦場に出たら俺に従わざるを得なくなる。必ずそうなる。心配するな。それに
Isn't that what happened to the other guy who surely they were going to follow orders and they didn't?
ところで急な用事とは何ですか？実は例の伯爵家の相続が決まってな。年が明けて上級大将に昇進するとともに、俺はラインハルト・フォン・ローエングラム伯爵。
The name you should have had. I know people are saying he doesn't actually get the name in the movie. The narrator's just saying he will get the name. It's like, fuck you. Not you, the person commenting. Fuck you, show.
ミューゼルというのはな、娘を皇帝に売り渡した男のせいだ。何の未練もない。
Seems pretty emotional.
Let's not mince words here, Reinhardt. You've literally benefited from that a lot, even though you say, I don't want to benefit from that. It's worked for you.
無抵抗の女子供を迫害し、思想犯を殺したということさ。
Well, at least he's aware of how the system works.
They're both imperial names.
Yeah.
Please let this be the Legend of the Galactic Heroes beach episode.
That's a weird space station. Perfectly functional, but
I think it's the
weird.
second space station we've seen.
Yeah.
If you consider Iserlon a station.
Yeah, well, it is.
I mean, it's a fortress,
Really
too.
coming.
Yeah, welcome.
Welcome. They have commercials for stuff, you know. They have capitalism, space capitalism.
I hear beach.
Well, I hear
Waterfall, never mind.
Waterfall.
Could have been a beach. I was so close.
Probably. It's a massive. Well, you know, they do everything extremely large things in the Empire, like massive space stations. Wow, so massive that it has its own rainbow.
Well, size has nothing to do with that. You can make a rainbow in your bathtub.
True, but and eagles.
America.
Bald eagles. Apparently, yeah, it is a beach episode thing.
Someone
They
kill
have
that kid
palms
for
everywhere.
littering.
I like that we're seeing more of the civilian side of the Imperium.
I don't think this is representative of the civilian side. I know they are civilians, but this has to be the exception.
Casino. And the brothel. Oh, wow, you oh, okay.
Okay, never mind. That was an actual dog for a second. They're about to get cartoon version stuff. Soccer practice.
I guess they don't have any problems with gender roles, apparently.
どうもこういうところは趣味じゃないが、楽しむべきところで楽しめないというのは貧乏症というやつかな。
Wasserhost. guess hotel, right? I don't know. My German is horrific, so my apologies.
I haven't studied German since high school, and that was essentially a year's worth.
休暇中滞在予定5日間
失礼ながら中佐にしてはお若くていらっしゃいますな。
What, do you want to see my ID?
無理もない。貴族の指定ならともかく平民としては異例の出世だからな。もうすぐ大佐になるんですと言ったらどんな顔をすることやら。
1204号室です。どうぞごゆっくり。
どうも。
Also, is that our admiral there on the back?
The heck is this guy?
Ah, he looks fine. We didn't pay him any mind. That them right there. That's the admiral. Was you following him? She's like one of the first people that talked to Siegfried.
Such a big guy, he doesn't really know how to fight.
Well, it seems like he's also jacked up on drugs or something.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a Macross Delta joke. I couldn't remember the name of the thing.
Yeah, he seems to be hopped on some kind of drug.
Well, his eyes were all bloodshot and everything. Yeah, see?
Oh. Well done in a fight, you know.
Yeah, but the first time we saw Siegfried and Reinhardt, they were doing well in the fight, so...
Yeah.
私は君に命を救われたようだ。お若いの礼を言わねばなるまい。私はカイザーリング男爵だ。見ず知らずの私を一瞬を顧みず救ってくれて感謝する。
カイザーリング。この人があのカイザー
Sorry, just extrapolating that out would mean that hey, I only save people I know. I would have gotten your ass stabbed if I didn't know you.
ジークフリード・キルヒアイスと申します。
おお、中佐にしては若い。
That's gonna be the watcher.
よくそう言われます。
Yeah, 5 seconds ago, I was told that. Yeah.
Also, bolo ties are popular in the Empire. Space Texas is in the Empire. Would have guessed.
男爵家の当主で元中将。3年前のアルレスハイム聖域の海戦での大敗。
Oh, only 3 years ago. Interesting. I thought it was longer. I guess he wouldn't be longer because otherwise he probably wouldn't be alive at his age.
カイザーリング中将の統率力の欠落と聞く。だが、世評に言われるほど無能で品性の低い人だと思う。
What does incompetent look like?
ジークフリード・キルヒアイス中佐殿。
Like, was his shoe be stained with, like, ketchup stains and shit like that? What does incompetency look like?
我々の詰め所までご同道を願いませんでしょうか。わかりました。伺いましょう。ご協力感謝いたします。
よう、赤毛のノッポの兄さん。強いね。あんたに100マルク。
Also, another bolo tie.
そりゃ残念でした。
It's either kerchiefs or bolo ties around here.
何か。
Well,
いや、行きましょう。
the Sin City. Yeah, I guess it's a place for entertainment. So yeah, it's a Sin City. A police say. Was he not supposed to interrupt the assassination attempt?
Another bolo tie. Look, I know there's a lot going on here, and I seem to be heavily focused on one thing. It just... I don't think we've ever seen any bolo ties in the entire show, and now it's all bolo ties.
This is supposed to be the civilian police as opposed to
Also, it's
the
all
secret police.
gemstones.
唾液から薬物反応が出ました。
やはり。
やはり？
いや、痛みを感じていないような異様な感じがしましたので。
Because obviously he was up on drugs, like I said.
Isn't that what got the would-be boyfriend? What's her name?
Probably.
Sent to the front lines.
The
Yeah,
only other drug that
dioxin,
we
yeah.
have heard about before. Because you saved my grandpa? Dad?
軍人が絡んだ犯罪ですと警察もいろいろとやりづらいことがありましてな。軍人？
Oh.
あの男身分証によりますと現役の兵長でしてそれがあの低たらく。当然麻薬中毒患者という作物が取れる畑はその周辺にあるわけで。
すると軍隊の中に麻薬を扱う非合法組織が存在するとお思いなのですか？
さよ、組織です。一人の力でやれることではありません。麻薬を合成
Yeah, it's called a drug ring.
売りつけるもの。それによる利益を分配するもの。彼らの共通
You know, if not for the fact that I know that these episodes are named Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, that would probably be a great name for the names of the episodes. Those who produce it, those who sell it.
Distribute it, yeah. Well, you know, technically in the United States, it's not illegal in most places, or all places, to use illicit substances.
Depends on the amount.
Crime is actually, huh?
Depends on the amount. Just
No,
like
no,
just like
the
trafficking, amount of use also
Yeah.
implies that you had that amount on you. So it's also
Because the crime itself is the trafficking of the drugs.
right. But I'm
So
saying
that's
that
why
if you
it's-
take a certain
the
amount of
actual
drug, that
use is
implies that you
not.
owned at one point that amount of drug, and then you get still charged.
Yeah, you know enough to sell to others. So no, you could use it for yourself and not be illegal, technically. Of course, you know.
And also, substances are not allowed to be had at all. So any amount of it would be. So it's not even just the trafficking; it's owning.
本格的な摘発に乗り出そうということになったのです。
すると私には拒否する権利はないのですか？
無論ありますとも。ですが、どうかこうしないでいただきたい。
But I actually not exercise a right. That's
I enjoy the photo on the back of the wall that is the same color as the wall.
この黒い綱派ドライに姿を現すのです。
断言なさるところを見ると、その人物の正体は判明しているのですか？
oh, they're gonna pin it on.
苦笑なさるのはもっともですが、根拠はあります。実は密告が
Hopefully they don't pin it on Reinhard, right?
No, Reinhard's not here. Reinhard's
Exactly, but he'll
3
come in
days
3
away.
days. It could, both of them, the drug dealer and
This has nothing to do with Reinhardt. I don't mean that as the what's going on here. I mean, I think this is a Siegfried solo journey.
他の場所が手薄になり、犯罪者どもは悠々と自己の利益追求に専念できるんではないかとかね。
yeah, we're gonna press this button to.
これだけですか？
これだけです。
で、結局信じることになさったのですね。
というより、正直なところ信じる以外に道がありませんでな。ご存知のように採用キシンは天然の産物ではなく、工場で化学合成される麻薬です。麻薬として神経中枢に与える快楽の効果は大変なものですが、
So it's a fentanyl of, you know, space fentanyl, basically.
再幻覚性とが著しく強い。
再帰性。
患者本人ではなく、その子供に及ぼす影響のことです。
Yeah.
百聞は一見にしかず、これを見ていただけますか。
Oh, birth defects. Not what I was thinking.
共に中毒患者でした。父親の方が軍隊で悪臭に染まって家庭にそれを持ち込んだわけです。その後母親は自殺し、父親の方は精神病院送りになりました。まあ人間の愚行というものはある程度は多めに見るしかないのです。人間というパンは道徳という小麦粉と欲望という水とを練り合わせて作られるもんでしてな。小麦粉が多すぎればカサカサするし。
I thought it was going to be something like they used to say children of smokers have a lower IQ because shit that gets passed down through the system. I think it was going to be so extreme as babies with massive birth defects or something. We know the Empire is fully against that.
遅いわけでもないよりはマシというわけでしてな。
わかりました。私にできることがあればお手伝いさせていただきます。
おお、協力してくださるか。頼りにさせてもらいますぞ。
これはまんまと警視の思うつぼにはまったかな。
For the second time in the entirety of the show, considering we were with that superintendent's scheme way back when we were police officers.
来年のうちには退職するつもりです。故郷の惑星に息子夫婦と孫が3人おりましてな。そこに厄介になって昼は孫の相手をし、夜は怪談集を読んで。
So this guy's gonna die when?
Yeah, I have 3 days from retirement. Well, a year.
あ、そうそう。中佐お読みになりましたか。悪夢の辺境航路という本を。
あ、いえ。
あれはいいですよ。短編集ですが、私に言わせれば世紀の傑作ですな、あれは。中佐もお読みになったらいい。特に旅行中にはぴったりですぞ。
Right, but you've eaten up my vacation with this thing that I now have to do.
Yeah.
ホットチョコレートか。
Okay. Ah.
As we all know, there's only one thing you can do with hot chocolate: reminisce about the past.
And the girl you're in love with.
Also, hot chocolate and onion pies.
他人の精神と肉体を数世代にわたって蝕むことで利益を貪るような奴らを社会から排除することにも。
Yeah, the drug wars has always worked, clearly.
帝国歴486年、宇宙歴795年の11月、ジークフリード・キルヒアイスはそれほど強く望んだわけでもない休暇をリゾート地クロイツナハドライの人工の大地で過ごすことになった。さらに全く望んだわけでない刑事事件に大きく関わり合うこと。
Usually one does not, unless one is a police detective, one does not ask to be part of criminal investigations, you know. Oh, this is a different song.
Yeah, time to mourn, time to celebrate. I feel like half the episode we spent with that guy learning about the drug.
Yeah.
Well, certainly a thing. That would be annoying. If everyone in the cabin's trying to sleep and you've got the light on.
And there's even a palm tree in the cabin. Cabin's big enough. Not like modern cattle class. It actually looks big enough that you could actually sleep there comfortably. I try sleeping on planes and it's impossible for me.
But like I said, this is going to be a solo Siegfried adventure, it seems. So we're going to be with Siegfried alone until the start of the show. I mean, fair enough.
Oh, this.
Not really going to enjoy his vacation.
He didn't seem to be enjoying it in the first place.
Right. Well, he said he was here with a mission too, so...
Yeah.
I guess the vacation's just a cover, or that's a working vacation.
Yeah.
Which is the element that now we have to take down a criminal empire on vacation. Guess it's a bit of Miami Vice.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting off the table that we might also encounter a beach at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we do have to talk over this.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking though, this could be basically a complete sideshow, right? Or it could be lead to something bigger, right? Like who's really, because we already know that. No.
望まない休暇のために一人クロイツナハドライを訪れたキルヒアイスは思わぬ事件に巻き込まれた。サイオキシン麻薬の密売組織の摘発に協力することになった途端、犯罪組織の魔の手がその身辺に迫る。次回銀河英雄伝説外伝汚名第2話、失われた時に愛惜を込めて。
Anyway, as you were saying,
we already know that at least one noble was involved in the drug trade, so it could, you know, and if it's built in factories could be anything, any space used for manufacturing, so it doesn't really have to be like a entire industrial park worth of drug dealers producing the drug. But we know that nobility has been involved in it. So could he find some other noble connections?
I would hate if this is the thing that connects all of Gaiden together. The drug. Well, because remember, what were their names? The two brothers. One of them died from early on, from the mutiny episode. The Sater brothers. Remember that their family owned a factory?
Hmm?
For some reason, they also invoked Siegmeister, which was from Silver Valley back. Like, why did they invoke him at the very beginning? It's like, is this going to be the thing that ties all of Gaiden together?
The drug trade.
Well, I guess. It's the fact that they invoked Siegmeister and then, God, what's the other guy's name? Problem is, Siegmeister, I have a pretty bad picture for on the board, so he's easy to spot. Like the other guy starts with an M.
No, but it seemed to be like a textile or something like that. I don't remember exactly what the factory was. Was his parents also in the factory? So
Michelson.
Again,
Christoph Michelson is the other guy.
Like I said, a factory need not be an actual production line.
I know lessons. This wasn't this is definitely it moment. I'm just bringing up the fact that that's the only factory that I recall as ever being mentioned before. And they never really covered it other than the fact that they weren't able to take it over.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just pointing out the element that they also brought up the Silver Valley guys. So it's just like, why did they bring it? Why did they bring those guys up? I guess other than the fact that now we know how Siegmeister died, because he's been a question mark on the board the entire time. As at the start of the episode was just a bunch of busy work for me. It's like when we watch an episode and it's like a lot of nothing happens, and then in the last 5 minutes they just introduce character after character after character, so that I have a bunch of board work to do. Well, this was like dates and times, so it's a bunch of work for me to do on my calendar. And then a bunch of characters that I already know exist that I have to go back over now. It's like, okay, that guy killed himself, so blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think it's going to be more of a sideshow, but it could be, like you said, the thing that ties everything together. One way to find out.
And that's by looking it up.
But there you have it.
That was a joke.
Yeah,
He didn't respond to it all.
Didn't find it funny.
Well, you could still say, or something like that. Acknowledge it's a joke. Don't leave the audience thinking that I'm just going to fucking look it up.
Yeah.
The guy who didn't come with notes isn't going to interact. Gotcha. Alright, well, all that said, then once again, I have been Theta, this has been Lessons, we've been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?